This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two Syracuse-based sports reporters. Thanks so much for joining us. We're here to talk about the offseason, what's going on and what's not going on, but particularly today, we are focusing on the top 3 best and the 3 worst MLB offseasons. We're going to grade them for you, we're going to rank them, and then we'll see what happens the rest of the way.
Our way too early ranking of the 3 best and the 3 worst MLB off seasons. Don't hold your breath because I don't think you'll be too shocked by what we pick. But Happy New Year to all who celebrate. It is officially January 5th, which means spring training, folks, is like 6 weeks away for pitchers and catchers. It is right around the block, and the New York Mets can't field a team. So that's what we'll be discussing today, amongst other things. In a shocking turn of events, or, less shocking for those of us who have been around the block, the Mets have done nothing since we last spoke, except, hand out minor league deals here, there, and everywhere, including to a 30-year-old Christian Arroyo who hasn't played in Major League Baseball since 2023. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Just needed to start there.
That's exciting.
Tantalizing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker updates. Bob Nightingale of USA Today reported on Monday that Tucker's market is the biggest mystery, adding that he could have to take a higher average annual value on a short-term contract and hit the market again after 2 consecutive injury-plagued second halves. That is interesting in some way, because you do wonder who else that might welcome into the mix as far as teams are concerned.
That strikes me as bad for Kyle Tucker, good for the Mets.
Yep.
It's giving Pete Alonso last offseason. Kyle Tucker obviously is sort of the crown jewel of this free agency market. I would say, alongside Alonso or maybe even above him in terms of a power bat. It's all been rumored to be, 8, 9, 10 years, freaking 15, the next millennium for Kyle Tucker. But what if things narrowed down and the market became, in the 3, 4, 5 year range? Again, bad for Kyle Tucker, good for a team like the Mets who wants, maybe a shorter term deal with higher average annual value.
All of a sudden, Kyle Tucker is looking at the Mets being like, I didn't think the Mets were cute before, but maybe we could date.
He's like, I don't like it, but I might have to settle.
No, truly. It's like he has to open up his dating pool a little bit, and I appreciate that, and I'm excited about that, because you know how the Mets feel about long-term commitments, but maybe there could be something fun and casual here.
Fun and casual. I feel like in the past, literally day or two, the stuff around Tucker to the Mets has at least, I don't want to say heated up, but it's become more frequent that you're seeing rumors around Tucker to the Mets, but I'll probably eat those words in a crisp 24 hours. The only other rumored real threat is the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, but the Blue Jays really need to figure out what the hell they're doing with Bo Bichette, although I feel like, as we're about to get into, one of their recent signings probably eliminates Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays wish list. Mark Feisend on MLB Network today said, quote, Toronto remains the favorite to land Tucker, sources say, though the Mets can't be counted out given their need for outfield help and general willingness to spend big when they feel it's appropriate. If the Yankees are prepared to spend big, it's likely going to be for Cody Bellinger instead of Tucker. The Dodgers are also lurking as a possibility for Tucker. The Dodgers lurk. That's a good word. Who would make the 2-time defending World Series champions even more dangerous as they take aim for a three-peat. The Dodgers are aiming right now.
Lurk. That's powerful.
They're lurking and they have a target.
They're lurking in the background. Speaking of the Blue Jays, you want to talk about threatening. We're putting the Blue Jays, at least as of right now, as our number 1, they did the best job so far in the offseason. You're a spot-on bitch with a lot of hot takes. But when you said the Blue Jays never win, that has to be the most freezing cold take you've ever had.
About 1 year ago. I need to dig up the clip to have a date for it. But about 1 year ago, I sat in this seat and I said the Blue Jays never win. Because if you remember, they missed out on a whole lot of free agents last offseason. And you know what they turned that into? They turned that into a deep, deep run into the postseason. And they never win, but apparently this offseason they figured out how to do so both on and off the field. So to the Toronto Blue Jays, for the 500th time, my deepest apologies. Hoping we can repair that relationship.
And the Blue Jays took that personally.
They did.
They sure did. They're doing a great job so far.
Number one on the winners list.
Number one.
The Blue Jays never win, except for when I put them number one on my winners list.
They won. Congratulations to Toronto. Some of the additions that make them have this prize number one spot on our list. Tyler Rogers, $37 million for 3 years. We believe that's going to be in a setup role, but obviously that's someone who we know,
Former
who
Met.
I wouldn't say love, but I would say liked. I would definitely say liked. And my dad, of all the people that the Mets kind of offloaded, my dad was like, that's someone who they should have kept. My dad felt like they should have held on to him.
Both Ryan Helsley, and Rogers just did not have the time of their lives in the second half in 2025 on the New York Mets, but are great pieces and additions of elsewhere nonetheless. And it makes you wonder why they were kind of a flop.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to Helsley, but it's like that is such a mystery to me. That is one of those classic examples of a guy who is really good, who has had a storied career, and then he comes here and he sucks. And by here I mean the Mets. Like, he was really actually bad. And I was like not sad to see him go, but he's going to perform well somewhere else is the bottom line. Shane Bieber opted in to remain a Blue Jay for one more year. That feels like it's worth taking a beat on.
We never talked about Shane Bieber picking up his player option for 2026, $16 million for 1 year to remain a Blue Jay. That, never happens. I mean, it does, and it has before, usually when the contract benefits the player a lot more than it does the team. But Shane Bieber could have went out there, tested free agency in a somewhat weak market for starting pitchers, and probably gotten himself a payday. I don't know if he would have gotten more than $16 million next year. But to opt in to remain a Blue Jay, that was unique. And I think speaks to what the Blue Jays have done in a year's time.
And speaks to how much he likes being there, which I also think is important. They were also the first team to sign, to really make a big splash, I would say. Dare I say that the Blue Jays took an aggressive approach to the offseason, and I really, really liked it. They picked up starting pitcher Dylan Cease. Great.
Things I'm in the market for, an aggressive approach.
Things I'm in the market for, Dylan Cease. 7 years, $210 million. Some people view that as an overpay. I think Ashley included.
It was an overpay. But you know what? They needed an ace, and he's like a strikeout machine. And I wouldn't have given Dylan Cease $210 million, but you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. He's pitched more than 165 innings in each of the past 5 seasons and has struck out 200-plus batters in each of those 5 seasons. Good for a rate of 11.3 per 9. You actually put this on your notes. I think you actually put the phrase strikeout machine. Does that warrant an overpay?
I mean, I wouldn't have gone quite that length or quite that amount of money for Dylan Cease's contract. But again, the Blue Jays, really what they were missing down the stretch last year and in the playoffs was that top tier ace caliber guy. Sure, they had Scherzer, they had Trey Savage, who had a really great coming out party on national television in front of 2 countries.
It was gorgeous.
In the World Series. But other than that, They needed that front of the line starter, and yes, maybe they overpaid a little bit to get him, but they did what they had to do.
Fair enough. They also added starting pitcher Cody Ponce from Korea. That's 3 years, $10 million. Interesting.
Will be. Listen, if Cody Ponce turns out to be good in Major League Baseball, that will be the steal of the century. 3 years, $10 million.
Crazy.
If he ends up being even, your starter 2, your starter 3 for that amount of money, that's going to be really a steal.
Yeah, interesting journey for Ponce. He was a 2015 second-round pick of the Brewers, saw parts of 2 big league seasons, pitched in the minor leagues for 6. He makes the jump to Korea, and according to an article I read, that's when it all came together, with a 1.89 ERA and 252 strikeouts over 180 and 2/3 innings. I mean, that's crazy. That is a wild, wild number. And to your point, who knows what exactly he's going to be or turn into when he joins this organization. But my God, if you overpaid for Cease, but you heavily underpaid for this guy, maybe that just shows that the Blue Jays really are smart,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can consider it an underpay when he, kind of flamed out of the minors and then had to go elsewhere internationally. But if he does turn out to take what he was doing in Korea and bring it over here,
then it will
that's
be
really low risk, high reward.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And then they also signed Japanese third baseman Kazuma Akamoto for 4 years, $60 million. That was also somebody who I think a lot of people were chasing after.
That was the one that sent me over the top here. That was like the Blue Jays are the number one bona fide winners right now. I mean, he was one of the top power bats left on the market. Obviously, there was sort of not to the scale we've seen in recent years with some other guys from Japan, but there was a little bit of what felt like a sweepstakes for him. In 2025, he did get hurt. He was limited to 69 games due to a left elbow injury. But in those games, he hit .327, .416 on base percentage, 15 home runs, 49 RBI. Definitely a good piece in the middle of that lineup. That's the signing that makes me think that Bo Bichette is, in fact, packing his bags for places other than Toronto. Things that I said to, just today, MLB Network is saying they are still in the mix for Bichette. They're still in the mix for Kyle Tucker. But really, you look at that additions list, you look at what they brought to the table last year. Do they really even need anything else to repeat as champions of the AL East? I mean, they've already got the payroll pushing $300 million, pushing that luxury tax threshold. I don't know, man. They might be done.
Mind you, they literally not only could have won the World Series last year, but in all reality, should have.
Oh, the Dodgers fans aren't going to like that.
But it's true. That's how close they were. So don't tell me that they can't do it again. If I was a Blue Jays fan right now, I would be simultaneously heartbroken and still hurt and still reeling, but also so happy and thrilled. This to me proves that not only are the Blue Jays serious about next year and, repeating, but also the next few years. They're really trying to build something here. I'd feel great about that.
Yeah, they were one Miguel Rojas home run away from probably winning the World Series. And I think if I was a Blue Jays fan
That's a lot to process.
Or if I was, a baseball fan, the Blue Jays have not only Toronto behind them, but pretty much all of Canada, as we saw in the World Series. You got to feel good about the fact that they took that momentum. Now they're really being aggressive this offseason, and it seems like they're ready to run with it, right? They're not just taking a back seat and saying, we were, good enough to play in the World Series last year. Do we really need that much? Do we really need to really add a bunch of payroll? They're taking this really seriously. They want to win, and everything they've done this offseason appears to put them squarely in the win now mode, squarely in the, favorite to at least appear in the World Series again next year.
Definitely. What it proves to me is that they took a look at the team that beat them last year and said, if they're revamping, if they're figuring out ways to up their roster, then we have to do the same thing. And that's part of the reason why the Dodgers come in at number 2. I think most Dodgers fans would probably agree with this take, at least say that they're somewhere in the top 3. Part of that is Edwin Diaz. We've covered this extensively. If you want to look up, we have a whole episode on it.
This is going to get painful.
We have a whole episode on it, but, we'll touch on it. This was the Dodgers' big hole. They filled it, and that really sucks.
Their big fish came from Queens, which was tough. The Dodgers coming in at number 2, I feel, literally, comes as a surprise to approximately no one. Edwin Diaz, 3 years, $69 million. I said this to her when I was putting together these notes about a couple hours ago. When I had to revisit the fact, just putting some actual numbers here, when I had to revisit the fact that the Dodgers are only paying Edwin Diaz $69 million over the next 3 years, I went through the stages of grief all over again. We don't have to get into it. I'll push it to the side, compartmentalize. But that is so cheap for what Edwin Diaz, I feel like, could have and maybe almost should have commanded in the free agent market. I thought this guy was going to get $100 million. $69 million to go to Los Angeles. Anyways, beyond that. They needed a closer. They needed to bolster the back end of that bullpen. It was their one area of weakness. Every single person and their mother knew it, and they did that with Edwin Diaz. And they added significant wins above replacement, if you're into those types of things, by adding him. Not only that, as I just said, contract pretty economical, pretty good, and they lured him away from an NL competitor in the Mets, if you want to consider them that, because I'm not really sure they are that at this time.
That's totally fair. Don't blame me for saying that at all. It's not really the fact that he did it for me so much as the why did he do it? And that's a question I'll stay stuck on for a while. I know some things came out, but I wish I knew all the details. The Dodgers also got Miggy Rowe back for 1 year and $5.5 million. Listen, he's going to be remembered as the guy who hit that home run.
You know what the Dodgers did? They said, well, first of all,
you earned it.
They said you earned it. Second of all, he has said that he intends for it to be his last year playing baseball. He's going to retire after the season. He wanted to end things out with the Dodgers because he started his career in LA. That game-tying home run in the 9th inning of Game 7 of the World Series, we all know, you all know, they're not winning that thing without him. How do you not give the guy $5.5 million to come back for a year? The Dodgers did what they needed to do there in terms of reading the room, feeling what fans wanted, and rewarding a guy for being a major, major part of last year's success.
I view that as a $5.5 million thank you.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much what it is. And mind you, we also don't know whether or not the Dodgers are done. So if they are going in for one of those guys like Tucker or Bichette or Bellinger, then there will be other things that we have to discuss and we may have to revise the list. But for now, that's where they stay.
And Rojas, before all the Dodgers fans get excited in the comments, Rojas, I think, is probably even more valuable in that clubhouse and in terms of that atmosphere and culture than he is on the field. He's good on the field. He brings a great bat off the bench, plays quality defense all over the infield, but really he's that clubhouse guy.
And again, like you said, I'm just going to give credit to the Dodgers where it's due. Sometimes I think, to your point, it is about
reading the room.
Yes, reading the damn room.
Read the room.
Read the effing room. Like, Dodgers fans wanted this guy back. And even if he didn't have a great year last year, and I feel like I even remember during the World Series, the announcers being like, he had kind of a down year and nobody expected this guy to do it, but he did. So to say thank you to him for $5.5 million when they, just have spent so much money on all these other players, like, to me, that feels okay and totally worth it in my mind. Let's move on. Number 3, we're going to go with the Orioles. And if you guys feel different, if you want to put something in the comments about what you feel free to do that. And like and comment and subscribe because it really helps us when you do that.
Good one. Nice one. Yeah, the Orioles was the pick here for me because I think that you look at what teams have done. So we just discussed the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, obviously the two teams who played each other in the World Series last year. Now you have the Orioles. This is really where winning the offseason becomes valuable because the Orioles absolutely fell off a catastrophic cliff last year, but still have some of the best young talent really in baseball. And now it's just cruel and unusual punishment because really we're just going through all the teams that have taken the best players that were on the Mets.
That's what this list came down to. Did you take a great player from the Mets? You are on the list.
Here you go. Yes, obviously, Pete Alonso, 5 years, $155 million. It's an elite power bat. You all know that. You know what we think about it. Let's not even get into it. But Alonso, the addition of Alonso, I should say, that legitimately could be the best lineup, 1 through 9, in the American League. Maybe up there with the Blue Jays to challenge it if the Blue Jays maybe re-sign Bichette. They have Gunnar Henderson, they have Adley Rutschman, they have Jackson Holliday, and now they have Taylor Ward, who we'll talk about in a minute. But I guess what stuck out to me when I was reviewing what the Baltimore Orioles have to offer in 2026, they've got it all. They've got the power bat now with Alonso. They have speed. They have youth with those young guys, but they also have veteran presence now that Alonso joins them. That lineup looks real nice on paper, and I know that that's not everything because they had a tough go of it last year, but I'm ready to go out on a limb and say I'd be surprised if 2025 was not a fluke for the Orioles.
I agree. The word I was thinking of was wonky. That year didn't feel like it was representative of all of the talent and all of the success that they should on a normal year be able to have. And it breaks my heart to say this, but Pete Alonso's a great fit there. It really makes sense.
No, it does. Because with all those young guys, you need that veteran over 30 guy and a power guy.
Totally agree. But wait, there's more. They also signed Ryan
Mets of the South. Mets of the South.
2 years, $28 million. He has an opt-out after this year. He is going to obviously work great for them in the bullpen. But it is interesting because I wanted to just remind our audience, Mets fans or not, I was reading a Jeff Passan article because I was just curious to see what it would say. And it said, among the lowest points of his career were the final 2 months of the 2025 season.
Oh, that feels fitting.
When, following a deadline deal from St. Louis to the New York Mets, he posted a 7.2 ERA and allowed 36 base runners in 20 innings. It's funny because, I hadn't looked into his background a lot previously. All I was really thinking about when we got Helsley was I heard great things about him, and then I saw him on the Mets, and I was like, he blows. He sucks. He literally throws meatballs right down the middle, and everybody hits home runs off of him. But you kind of pointed out to me today, no, there were a lot of teams that were really interested in him because before he came to the Mets, he was actually really good.
You know what that's giving? Fluke.
Right. Yeah. Fluke for the Mets.
I think that's a good deal for the Orioles too. Obviously, $28 million over 2 years is a bit of a lot for a relief pitcher, but he has an opt-out after the first year. Really bolsters that bullpen if they're going to have Helsley close. And honestly, the Orioles bullpen was a bit of a mess before they signed Helsley, and they got Kittredge back from the Cubs. Now it looks much better. That felt like an area of weak point for them. Now it feels almost like an area of strength.
As long as he comes out not the way he did in the end of the 2025 season, you're going to have to see
Right.
the Ryan Helsley of old.
And if he does, then that $28 million is going to feel real bad.
Totally agree. You also mentioned it, but Taylor Ward, they got him from the Angels in a trade. I feel like you liked that move.
Yeah, sort of an underrated. He has 1 year left before he hits arbitration. He adds, another bat into their sort of outfield DH mix that they've got going on. I like what he brings to their lineup. Might hit in like the 2 spot. I would say when you look at the Orioles, their real area of weakness still is starting pitching. They re-signed Zach Eflin. They traded with the Rays to get Shane. Is it Boz?
I think so. I think so. But if not, just cook us in the comments.
Yeah, if not, just how we are with the pronunciations. So they're doing things to try to help. They don't have that like front line, grade A ace guy. I still think they could use a starter. Maybe they're in the market for Framber Valdez. But as a whole, I think if you're an Orioles fan, especially coming off of the, discouraging performance that was 2025, you're very encouraged by what they've done this offseason.
Preach, preach, preach. Just to say it quickly, we also put down some honorable mentions, beginning with
the Braves, which is tough for me. This is all
hard
very
to say that.
This is all very hard.
That's how you know. This was a real list, y'all.
For the people in our comments that say they like us because we're honest, I do try to abide by that. You know that we're Mets fans, but I try to be honest, even when it involves giving applause to teams I don't want to applaud. Anyway, the Braves have made a flurry of moves, Suarez and others. Obviously, they're trying to climb out of the recent hole that they've dug for themselves. I think they're going to be a better team in 2026. Do I think they're going to win the NL East? No, probably not, but who knows with the rest of the competition. The White Sox. Here, I almost ranked the White Sox third, but then
No, legit.
But then I had to consider the Orioles, and the Orioles far and away beat them. But the White Sox being able to lure Murakami to join them, the first baseman from Japan, 2 years, $34 million. The fact that he picked the White Sox is one of the more remarkable, I think, free agent signings in recent memory. Obviously, those guys from Japan, we never really know how they're going to pan out. Some of them do, some of them don't. I think he's a real, obviously, power bat. He strikes out a ton. He hits the ball over the wall a ton. They're going to see what he's made of. But the fact that the Chicago White Sox were able to go out and get him, you got to give credit where credit is due.
Simply put, it's impressive because they had to sell him on more. There had to be a love letter written there, and a really good one, in order to lure him, like you said, to the White Sox, and they were able to do it. So if nothing else, that shows me that that's an organization and team that has determination and the will to get things done. And I appreciate that.
The White Sox are a funny case because it's like a big market team, one of the biggest markets in the country. The money should be there. Everything just has not been all together for the White Sox in quite some time. I root for them, honestly, to put the pieces back together because I think there's potential there. But yeah, I know that I certainly couldn't have been alone when I got that Jeff Passan alert about Murakami, and I was like, the White Sox, what the?
Right. Was that a typo?
Yeah.
I don't wish the Braves well.
I don't.
But good for them. Okay.
Congratulations.
But congratulations. a sincere congratulations from the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast.
Time for the biggest losers. Here we go. Number one.
Wait, back to the
seal clapping.
I don't know why we do that. The mic's in the way. It's just kind of become a thing. We put our biggest loser as the New York Mets, but there is an asterisk because there is one other team that we think could compete for that spot. But the first one we're putting in there is the New York Mets. I think I can speak for you when I say the reason why they sincerely earned that spot.
They worked hard for it.
They worked hard for it is not necessarily because of what they haven't done yet. It's because of what they lost. They actually are the biggest losers. They lost the most shit. And they didn't replace it with anything. And because of those two things, I award them this rose and a kiss.
I award them the blue ribbon for biggest losers. No, guys, this is, again, I said last week, some of our hard truths are coming out. I'm prepared to give my hard truths. So my harsh truth is that the Mets are the biggest loser of the offseason so far. Listen, with a signing of, any number of free agents, we could move them out of this spot. I would put we're going to get into the Yankees in a minute. I would put the Yankees ahead of them if the Mets had the gall and determination to sign even one free agent with a pulse. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. So this is where we are. Also, this isn't just us. I know what everybody's going to say. This is not just us and our Mets fandom crashing out. Legitimately, every single ESPN, MLB Network beat writer has ranked the Mets among the worst off seasons and the undisputed, really biggest losers of the winter meetings.
Look it up on the internet, okay?
Look it up.
It's true. I love how you say, you're like, I'm prepared to be honest. Like, that's so brave and bold of you. Like, you don't do that every
Guys,
week.
I'm speaking my truth.
I am finally speaking my truth. The New York Mets
Which is something
suck.
I'm really good at.
Yeah, I like how she puts her first bullet as, do we even need to expand on this? No, but shouldn't we? Because it's fun. And what else are we talking about? Can someone make a move? Like, we're really working so hard. We have like 5 pages of notes today, and we had to do that because nobody's actually signed anyone. And I do think it's a good episode, but.
I love the concept, but we said we wanted to be a baseball podcast. You know why we're really a baseball podcast today is because the Mets haven't done jack shit.
Right.
Anyway.
We could have talked about football. It would have been more fun.
It would have been.
Anyway, crossover episode?
Anyways, you guys know the drill. They lost Alonso. They lost Edwin Diaz. They lost Brandon Nimmo. They gave
Jeff
away
McNeil.
Jeff McNeil for a bag of balls. As we've discussed many a time, it's less about the departures to me. This is to me. It is, in some sense. It's about, wins above replacement and how the lineup looks and the garbage we've been talking about for months. It's less about that to me and more about the optics and the feeling around this team. I'm going to dip right back into the same well that I've been dipping into for a good month's time. Here I go again.
Ashley back to the well.
Stop.
With her little bucket of truths.
With my bucket of harsh truths. And that is that they remind me of the Wilpons, and the tears are in my eyes, but I'm not.
We're not going to do that today.
We're not doing it. They're reminding me of the Wilpon era, and that's a sentence that no breathing Mets fan ever wants to say ever again. It's less about the departures. It's more about the way in which they happened. There were terrible optics surrounding both Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso, and it's not that they left. It is a little bit, but it's the manner in which they left. Edwin Diaz is out here talking about wanting to go to a winning organization. Pete Alonso is like the Mets, and Diaz doesn't even give them a chance to counteroffer. And then Alonso just like goes to the Orioles and is like, this was the best place for me, and really never says anything positive about the Mets once.
Excited to raise a family here.
Excited to raise a family in Baltimore. I don't know if anyone's ever said that ever. Anyways.
Don't look at me. Don't put the camera on me. Leave it directly on her.
No, it's a lovely town. Anyways, it's the way in which they happened. And not only that, it's not just the departures. It is also legitimate questions, such as who the hell is playing left field, which I raised last week? Who the hell is protecting Juan Soto in the lineup? I have legitimately no idea what the plan is for the outfield come spring training, which is in a crisp 6 weeks.
Right.
The clock is ticking, David Stearns.
And the questions are unanswered. Like, we've been sitting here sort of waiting for the water to boil. The pasta's still hard.
It's still.
It's
the
upset.
water is still.
Yeah, it is. Wait, still. Completely still, not a wave to be found. Not a bubble in sight.
Nope.
And that's going to be the hard part here. But honestly, I am going to go back at you a little because a part of me feels that, yes, it's the manner in which this all happened. Certainly, that proved that there is some sort of a culture issue here from the top down. But it is the departures, too. Like, yes, my feelings are hurt because they didn't want to be here, but my feelings are more hurt because now the chances of the Mets winning has decreased, has not dissipated. But I feel like the Mets are a long, long ways away from a World Series, nevertheless, a playoff run. That's what I care the most about. I am loyal to a lot of these Mets players. I'm not going to talk about my Alonso jersey anymore because no one really wants to hear it, and it didn't actually fit that well anyway. It was a youth size. But I am upset with the fact that what I'm most loyal to is the New York Mets as a team. Mm-hmm. That's what I want, is to see the Mets win. And I love that on this podcast we can say that, and it's just the truth. I love the Mets, and I want them to win. And I don't feel that they have a better chance of winning after the pieces they let go and the moves they did not make following it.
In 2025, they won 83 games, which was a harsh disappointment. And now sitting here at the very beginning of 2026, I can only say that they are a worse team than they were in September of 2025. And I know some people are going to fight me in the comments about, they said they wanted to get better on defense. They made one move that aided them on defense, and that was Marcus Semien. They said they wanted to bolster the starting rotation. You know, the worst part of all to me, the worst part of all of this, forget about who left and who's not here anymore. They have done absolutely nothing whatsoever with the starting rotation, which, by the way, posted a 5.27 ERA over the final 93 games, and honestly was the reason why they crashed, burned, the car smoked out, and the fire truck was called, okay?
Yep.
The starting rotation is where it starts and ends, and they've done not one thing about it. David Stearns, not one iota. He doesn't care.
The car smoking. That's hilarious. I like that a lot. That rivals the paddle analogy. That was a good one.
Up a creek without a paddle.
Up a creek without a paddle. I love that so much. But that is where the Mets are right now. They're sitting in that canoe for sure.
In the canoe without a paddle. And you know what else? My closing thought on the Mets before I get into the Yankees is that they've added. I saw somebody say this on, I think it was SNY or something to this degree. They have added flexibility to the roster, to the payroll, to who's going to play where, to what the lineup's going to look like. That's great. You always want to have some flexibility when you're fielding a Major League Baseball team. But really all that matters is what they do with that flexibility, which so far has been nothing. Zippo zilch.
That's the thing. All of the people who are involved in the offseason decision making, particularly David Stearns, but certainly others are to blame too. I think that what happened here was that David Stearns wanted to present a vision to the media and to the fans. And that vision was based around the fact that defense is going to help us win. I feel like he has a little motivational poster in his in his office that says offense wins games, defense wins championships.
It's possible.
But that just isn't necessarily true here. It feels like there
Also,
are
if you feel that way, do something about it.
It's both of those things. I think that alone doesn't cover all of the issues that the Mets have. But if you were going to make that your thing, then adding one guy who's good at defense isn't enough to really prove that that was your thing. So you know what I mean? If you're going to that strongly say this is the narrative, then you have to do more on defense to actually prove to the fans that you mean what you say. And they haven't done either. They're really just sitting in no man's land right now.
You know what I have to say? We
What
talk
is it?
about this frequently with, we
You
have
can tell
another
me.
podcast.
It's private.
We cover,
No one's listening.
It's intimate. We cover Syracuse athletics in our day jobs. We also have a podcast that covers that, The Orange Zone, if you're interested.
Nice.
Frequently, thank you.
That's good.
We've been talking about the lack of identity for Syracuse men's basketball, once a storied program at the top of the Big East that has now fallen into almost irrelevancy in the ACC. We always say regarding that team that they have a lack of identity.
Yes.
The New York Mets in January of 2026, to me, right now, have a lack of an identity. I don't know which direction we're headed. We have 2 future Hall of Famers in the lineup, not much else. We said we were focusing on defense and pitching. We haven't done much to bolster either of those areas. For now, until they sign anybody with a pulse, Tucker, Bellinger, or the like. You know, maybe they'll get Scooble via a trade. Maybe they'll shock the world. I don't know. David Stearns had shocked me before. I didn't think they were going to sign Juan Soto. So, but until that happens, biggest losers of the offseason. Far and away. I don't even think it's close.
Hard team to root for, and you know that we're still going to have to sit here and we're going to be forced to watch 162 games. If you're a Mets fan, you don't have free will. So don't make us sit through this. No one wants to watch that movie every single night. It's a lot of hours
Gary,
spent.
Keith, and Ron can draw me in, but not that much.
Not that much. All right, number 2 we put is the New York Yankees. And I think that's the team that we both feel could rival how horrific the offseason was for the Mets. It's close in some way.
No, I think it is close, albeit what I just said.
But it's different.
Are the 2 New York teams the biggest losers of the MLB offseason so far? Because I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I think for the Yankees, you're looking at something different because they didn't lose as much.
Right.
So that's probably why they're in the number 2 spot. But I would probably say as far as additions, they maybe even did like less than what the Mets did.
The Yankees, I mean, they have been sitting in the corner silent. Not a peep.
Timid, scared, nervous. It's really like weird a little bit. Like,
It's really,
it a money?
it's not very Yankee.
Are they okay? Has someone checked on them?
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's not good. They need some pitching, but they haven't necessarily done what they need to do for that. Devin Williams, among others, walked away to Queens to the Mets, Luke Weaver. So they let a few guys walk, and then they didn't really replace a lot of holes. And then you also have the Cody Bellinger question, and that pretty much sums it up.
The Cody Bellinger saga. Yeah, they want Bellinger back. Everybody knows it. Every single source is basically saying that the Yankees' preferred signing is to bring Bellinger back, but they haven't been able to do it yet. Pitching-wise, I mean, they need an arm. Maybe they're more, maybe they don't like the free agent market. Okay, go get Cabrera from the Marlins. That's a guy that we haven't really talked about, but could be a target for the Mets as well. Go get Freddie Peralta from the Brewers. Do something because they need an arm. Their biggest confirmed additions, which, as we said, the Mets haven't done much either. Old friend Ahmed Rosario and Paul DeJong. Not really exactly sure if either of those guys move the needle at all. And then they re-signed Trent Grisham to avoid arbitration there. Not exactly inspiring if I'm a Yankees fan following getting smoked by my division rival, the Toronto Blue Jays, in the ALDS. And honestly, you said it's different.
It is.
So it's sort of like a 1A, 1B situation. The Mets had to watch everybody walk out of town, some of which they didn't want to walk. The Yankees didn't do that. They pretty much have the 2025 team largely intact. But a part of me thinks they're in a worse position because you saw last year that the Yankees were not good enough in comparison to the other teams in the American League and the other teams right in their division in the AL East. And all they've done this offseason is sat by and watch the Toronto Blue Jays and the Baltimore Orioles retool and get better while they've sat there and done nothing. Not to even mention the Boston Red Sox have a pulse. I think the AL East is more competitive than the NL East by a good bit right now. And so that's what to me is alarming if I'm a Yankees fan.
I totally agree. Obviously, in the National League, you have the Dodgers. But I think far and away, the American League, at least last year, had more talent. So I think if you're the Yankees, that's something that you have to seriously consider. That's also, I must add, like a ruthless fan base. Like, I just know that Yankees fans are freaking out right now. And it's a fan base with very, very high expectations who gets increasingly more annoyed with every year that the Yankees don't win the World Series.
Who did not live up to expectations in any way, shape, or form last postseason. And you know what? Also, like, they're putting all their eggs, it seems, in Cody Bellinger's basket. What if you don't get Cody Bellinger?
It doesn't, to me, feel like the Yankees have a backup plan, so I am really hoping that plan A works because I feel like they burned all their ships. Like, I don't know what's going on here.
Not to even mention, Bellinger was on the team last year.
Right.
So
there's that. Number 3, we're putting San Diego Padres.
Our Dodgers fans are going to salivate at this one.
I know, they're going to love this. But again, this one, a part of the reason why they make the list is because it seemed like they were the kind of team that was on a positive track, that was performing well, that was making some noise. And thinking about it from the fan perspective, there would be mostly disappointment here.
Yeah, the Padres seem to be on an upward trajectory. They were getting big free agents. They were making big trades. They, obviously, as we know quite well, ousted the Mets from the postseason just a couple of years ago in the wild card round. AJ Preller and that front office likes to wait until later on in the offseason. We have seen that strategy from him and his team year in and year out now, but that strategy this year hasn't exactly rewarded them. Last year, they did kind of nothing until late January. They did sign Nick Pivetta, and they got a couple guys in their lineup. But they have done, the Padres, to me, are sort of equivalent to the Mets right now. They have done absolutely nothing to replace Dylan Cease, Suarez, Luis Arias, I can never say his last name, and Ryan O'Hearn. Like, the Padres have had a little bit of a walkout situation, too, and they've really brought nobody in to replace those guys.
Zippo.
Zilch.
Zippo.
Not to mention, Yu Darvish, like, may or may not ever return to Major League Baseball.
So that's also something worth considering and worth thinking about. That being said, please know that these placements are subject to change, and there is still some offseason left to go. But we're getting impatient. And that's all we're going to say for this episode.
Antsy. My honorable mention for worst offseason was the Milwaukee Brewers, just so everybody knows. However, they do that every year, and then Pat Murphy just works his magic, and they just waltz into a playoff run. So I don't even know if you can say that about the Milwaukee Brewers because they just seem to figure it out. Anyways, CNY guy, Syracuse, New York. Let us know what you think about our rankings. Let us know if you have any additions, subtractions, thoughts, questions, comments, and concerns. And other than that, we hope to see you.
You're really open for all kinds of business.
Open for business. We hope to see you next week with any sort of baseball news. How about, forget about the Mets. Just, can somebody sign somewhere?
Can somebody do something interesting? You know that meme of the guy with the stick and he's like, do something.
Yeah.
That's how I'm feeling about this podcast.
Baseball hot stove, not so hot right now.
Not so hot,
Feeling
not so interesting.
cold, actually.
Completely agree.
Okay.
But we'll try and keep on coming up with exciting things to say for all of you, and we will try not to miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here when the next big thing happens, eventually.